Happy Thursday, everybody. My name's Aaron Conant. I'm the co-founder, managing director here at BWG Connect, giant networking, knowledge sharing group, thousands of brands. We work together to stay on top of the newest trends, strategies, pain points, whatever it might be that's shaping the digital landscape. I spend the majority of my time talking to brands. I try to fit in 20 to 30 every week to stay on top of those when the same topics come up over and over again. That's how we get the topics for these events. I'm also asking everybody, hey, who are the coolest providers that are out there? Who's the best people? Who's actually moving the needle for you? And what is the newest tech that's popping up? And so when we get the same recommendations over and over again, that's how we get the sponsors for a webinar and the guests that we bring on for sure. So I throw that out there because I want this to be as educational and informational as possible. And so along the way, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat, drop them in the Q&A, and we'll try to answer as many of those real time as possible. The other thing is we're starting 3 to 4 minutes after the hour. We're going to wrap up with at least 3 to 4 minutes to go, give you plenty of time to get on to your next meeting without being late. And with that, I think we're going to jump into, Kashif, I don't know, you're a longtime friend forever in this digital space, and now over at XMars doing some pretty impressive stuff on one of the hottest categories that's out there that people are rapidly trying to understand and utilize, which is the Amazon Marketing Cloud. And so, this topic today, how to leverage AI and AMC for Cyber 5. I would say Q4 performance as a whole. But thanks for jumping on. I don't mind if you want to jump in, give people a little background on yourself around XMars and what you guys are doing in this space, and we'll jump into the conversation. Sound good?
Yeah, it sounds great. Aaron, great to be on again. Always a pleasure talking through these. These chats are so fun because they're so organic. And I think really with what we're doing at XBars, right? I've been just quickly XBars. We're really kind of at a point where our acceleration working with brands and sellers and agencies and the adoption of AMC and really allowing for our tool to be a drag and drop tool where you don't need to have any coding or need to have SQL coders or data scientists. You could just get deep insights on AMC and consumer behavior through our tool, through our different models and drag and drop. And, within minutes, just have that information in your hand. It's been really a lot of fun this year. We continue to talk to a lot of our clients to set them up with AMC, set them up with the specific targeting that they're looking for. So it gives you the insights, but also actions in terms of then creating those audiences and leveraging those. I had a couple cool stories to share recently of some successes there. And then, of course, our platform, we're excited because it continues to be leading in the edge in terms of just AI and leveraging AI for optimization on sponsored ads. And then we're recently now launching DSP self-service through our platform, as well as leveraging AI with Walmart. And then a lot more features as we get to accelerate and unbox here when it comes to AMC. And really for AMC for brands, even if they're not spending with DSPs. So a lot of exciting stuff. We loving these conversations, these webinars. So really excited to be on again today.
Yeah, awesome. And again, for those who joined, drop questions in the chat or the Q&A, and we'll get as many answered as possible as we go. Do you want to just, as we get off here, kind of level set Amazon Marketing Cloud for everybody when we say AMC, Amazon Marketing Cloud? Do you want to level set kind of like what that is? And then we're going to take the conversation, kind of from there and get into why it's popped up, how people are using it, why it's important. Is it now table stakes? But let's start it at the base.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'll just say this, that, Amazon, Amazon Marketing Cloud's been actually there and around for many years. Amazon's launched it back in 2019. We were reminded of that when recently I was in Colorado meeting with the AMC team earlier this year. And, a lot of people forget that it's been around. It's been around for a minute, but really it's not been something that folks have taken advantage of, brand sellers, agencies, until more recently. Because I think what's happening is ad tech providers like XBars are now helping the adoption of it because we're taking some of the requirements out of there, right? So the requirements of really be able to, how do we connect our AMC instance quickly to be able to do that? How do I get those insights without having to hire data scientists or have SQL developers develop that area? What do I do once I'm in there? How do I really kind of take advantage of that? It's like an open space. And it's really like almost like the most grandiose database you can find. And then you go in there and you could just get deep insights on consumer behavior when it comes to retail media and Amazon. And historically, we've always looked at metrics and KPIs and consumer behavior shopping on Amazon and even off of Amazon in silos, right? We're just looking at the data of sponsored ads or DSP and really looking at this separately. But with AMC in this Amazon Marketing Cloud clean room, you could pull all that data together. And really, what does that ultimately do? It gives us more data insights in our hands quicker to make smarter decisions. And really what we want to do is listen, every brand, every agency, every client has the same thing. You know, we all have challenges when it comes to budgets. What's our budget? How much can we invest? It's not like we're going to get 20, 30, 40% every year. You're going to get an increase of that. In fact, budgets are going less at times, and there's a higher expectation for getting, you know, more efficiencies in play. And so that's what really AMC is allowing us to do, is make smarter decisions, maximize our performance, get the most of our ad spend all together. Now, what's been cool about it historically when Amazon rolls out programs, it takes a minute. It takes a minute to adjust to it. It takes a minute to understand the value. It takes a minute on how to set it up, and it takes a minute to even see a little bit of how this benefits me. But time and time again, Aaron, over the last 3 to 6 months, what I'm seeing is when we are working with our clients, the adoption of AMC is helping them right away, right? I have an example of a client that we just signed up and they just got set up right before Prime Day, and they were able to leverage our AMC insights and take actions on creating like 30 different target audience segments and focusing on those clients that are new to brand or that they haven't necessarily purchased before. They've maybe added a card or they've had different kind of behaviors that hasn't quite got them to buy. So focusing on those consumers during Prime Day and then 30 days past Prime Day and seeing the uplift of, you know, those sales and just general ROAS. I mean, those are the things that get me excited, and I love to talk to greater audiences about, because AMC can really allow you to make some of those results come faster and
Yeah.
really come right now. So generally, that's the way I would kind of explain what AMC is and how the impact of AMC is really about how quickly you can adopt to it and actually start making a difference in your ad strategy.
Yeah, I want to jump into because we did a dinner right in Chicago.
Yeah,
And a lot of people here might know Jeff Cohen from Amazon Ads. He's kind of an ambassador over there.
yeah,
And he was highlighting some of the things that I think a lot of people took a step back, and he was mentioning that it's been around for 5 years.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yet you just made a comment that's when it popped up on my radar as well. It was 4 to 6 months ago. And so I'm calling this out for a couple of reasons. One is, as I was noted, I talk to brands all day, every day.
Mhm.
If you think this has been around for 5 years and you're 5 years behind, you're not. It has
That's a
really
great
just
point.
started to gain traction over the past 4 to 6 months. So
Great point.
I like to level set on that side as well.
Yeah.
What, in your opinion, what changed 4 to 6 months ago? Maybe it was a year ago. I don't know. But for
Sure.
me, it was 4 to 6 months ago. All of a sudden, like there's this, I don't know, a ton of, it's not even like press. It was just curiosity,
Yeah.
right? Around what is the marketing cloud. And then now in this short period of time, the feeling I'm getting from people is that, especially a lot of agencies, that it's table stakes now. You can't be running DSP
Yeah.
without the Amazon Marketing Cloud data.
Great.
I'd love to hear like your kind of thoughts there. Like what changed?
Aaron, by the way, great call out, because you're right, because it's really been this year, right? If we just look at
Yeah.
it, the conversations, and the big question is why? Why this year, especially as Jeff mentioned at that Chicago dinner, and even some of the AMC folks in Colorado when we met with them earlier this year said the same thing, like very proud that, hey, this thing's been around. And I think when we all talk about that and we look at it, I think the big thing is if you look at brands and look at sellers on Amazon, it's always been about getting the most of your return on sponsored ads, right? It's a knife fight out there, and everyone's looking at that top line growth. They're looking at the return right away, and so that area has become saturated. That's become too competitive. You can't just do that, right? But that's where everyone started just going. First stop is there. And I think that accelerated during COVID when a lot of brands and sellers started getting on Amazon. So it was just an automatic set up my brands, turn on sponsored ads. It's very competitive, but I can drive sales there. It's about then getting creative. It's then about how do I really look at a different type of expansion of my strategies. And I think that's where Amazon has been pushing DSP for many years, right? So sponsored ads is there, people are maximizing that. Then let's look at more awareness campaigns. Let's look at ways of targeting specific demographics that, and those shoppers that might not even be necessarily always shopping at Amazon. They go off of Amazon too. Let's target that. Let's expand who we can target. And so I think sellers and brands have been focused on that the last couple of years. And now it's like, what's next, right? What do we really do, right? So adoption takes time. And so now that people are getting more savvy on Amazon advertising strategies, they understand sponsored ads, they understand DSP, they understand the mix there. And I think this is the time to really kind of push the AMC angle to like, listen, now when you think of full funnel, you really need more data in your hands. And I think the advent of the tools, the ad tech providers like XMARS, making that easier for you to get those insights is really what's made the big difference. I joined in XMARS in January, and when I joined from an agency world, I knew AMC was around. I had been hearing about AMC. XMARS used to talk to me about that when I was over my previous agency. But I think really the models and the really no code and the drag and drops and all of that started to really come to life early part of this year with a lot of the ad tech providers. So it made it easier to digest. It wasn't just conceptual. Now I can actually see it and make steps and see how I can really implement this. And so I think it's just, I look at it that way. There's just a natural progression of what you're trying to do as a seller on Amazon. And so you maximize sponsored ads, you're really now looking at DSP, and now AMC is this beautiful wrapper that really allows you to get all this more insights. And now I'm savvy enough to really be able to, okay, let me look at this and let me see how I can really change the strategies and look at the data even in more detail. I think, Aaron, that's what's really changed this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. It does make sense because I've seen a lot of AI, machine learning companies across the board, not just in the marketing cloud space, but across the board. We had a lot of them go by the wayside because they weren't really AI machine learning, but we've had a lot of advancement. And I think that's what it makes sense. That's what it was, is this, yes, they made the marketing cloud available, but it's not your traditional SQL query, right? It's a Amazon S SQL query. So you better have some coders, you better have some data scientists. You need all these different people. It just didn't make sense to go in to try to harvest the data.
Yeah.
But now there's enough tech out there that can crunch high volumes of data in near real time.
Yeah.
And then, like an XMARS that can just go in and plug and play, right? I need to see this.
Yeah.
Can you jump into just a little bit around like the things that you're able to pull out that you have, that brands, agencies haven't been able to pull out before?
Yeah.
And then I also want to jump into with that, as we apply these to, hey, Cyber 5, Turkey 5, Turkey 12, whatever we want to call it now. Pretty soon it'll just be, Turkey 30, and then it'll just, again, we'll get back to Q4. That's where I see it going.
Yeah.
And then we have another question that popped in here, but I would love to hear, some of those thoughts around, hey, this is some new things that you've never been able to do before.
Yeah.
And now we're able to do it. And then how do we apply those to some of these strategies for Q4?
Yeah, no, let me talk about a specific, like I mentioned earlier in the webinar. So we had a client recently that signed up with us. It was an agency actually, and they were really trying to focus on some of their key clients that were really more advanced in the full funnel approach. Like I mentioned, they were ready to really kind of look at their ad dollars from a full funnel point of view. And so they leveraged AMC for Prime Day and post Prime Day. And so really what they ultimately ended up doing is they created over 30 audiences to target over Prime Day. They leverage our AMC hub, which is all those various different models that you can get some insights and then create target groups from. And really some example audiences they created was like looking at 2023 Prime Day purchasers, some of the folks that looked at a PDP multiple times. So they didn't just one time, but they went 2 or 3 or 4 times and visited the PDP page, but they didn't buy. So you could be very specific in the parameters in terms of creating these audiences, what you want. So behaviors on that. So they looked at 2023 Prime Day purchasers. They looked at anyone that looked at a product detail page for that brand more than 2 times. They looked at anyone that abandoned a cart. They added the cart, but they didn't end up buying. And then they targeted keyword searchers, right? And so they were very specific in terms of how deep they wanted to go in terms of targeting. And so ultimately, though, it was a pretty impressive return for them. So for one of the brands, I think the AMC audiences accounted for there was an increase of 25% ROAS overall when it came to just the performance of these campaigns. And so, that was, and then they did this for post Prime Day as well, right? So they continued targeting those people and looking at what their success was in the next 30 days after that. So ROAS was impressive. New sales, overall total sales was impressive. And so overall, that was a good example of how someone leveraged the AMC during the most recent event on Prime Day. I think there's a couple other things we kind of dive into, but I'll stop there to see if you have any questions or any follow-ups kind of on that.
Yeah, one just a comment from Todd. Cyber 5 is just now November's monthly Amazon sale. We're in the midst of the Labor Day sale. We just had the other Prime Day. It's all over the site. Every month is a different quote unquote Hallmark holiday. Yeah,
That's Todd. Todd's always dropping that knowledge, and he's exactly right, right?
Yeah.
So that goes back to Aaron, your point, right? Like it's not even about Cyber 5 or Turkey 12, Turkey 30. 30, it's always on now, right? Especially in Q4 when we have a second Prime Day coming, we have the holiday season coming, right? And so it's always something with Amazon. And so I think what you really want to do is like if you're not looking at that right now as your ad strategy for Q4, you're starting to already get behind. This is the time to really be focusing on your strategies, how you want to spend your dollars, who you want to target, and because you have October, November, December, as we all know, is the peak seasons with Amazon.
Yeah. So a couple other questions. Do you feel the adoption of AMC has most been impacted by Amazon's push of AMC awareness access or agencies' knowledge or brands having like FOMO?
I think it's all of the above, right? So I think one of the easiest ways that I've seen the adoption of AMC, or one of the most common ways of seeing adoption of AMC is agencies. I think agencies are wanting to provide additional value to their brands, and so they're the ones that are most interested in AMC. From my experiences this year, when we go to these dinners that in Chicago and New York, and we're talking to brands on these webinars and agencies, that's what I see is like the agencies have the sense of I want to bring more value, and so AMC is a great way of doing that, right? And then you look at some of these more what I'll call disruptor brands that are willing to do test and learns, because there's an element of risk and there's an element of test and learns because this is new. That's what I've also seen, Aaron, is those ones that are not as worried about taking risks and are willing to really kind of jump in and go all in this. Those are the two key type of audiences that I've seen, agencies and then also these brands that are willing to test. And I mean, right now it accelerates. So Aaron, if honestly, if I look at it from like discussions we were having in April to discussions we have now, I mean, I'm talking about like 10x in terms of the conversations we're having just in that window. As people get more and more interested, they keep hearing about AMC. Amazon is continuously promoting AMC. There's different beta programs where AMC was historically only allowed for those brands that were also doing DSP. But Amazon has a beta program right now with certain providers like us, where you can do AMC and have an entry point without doing DSP, just with sponsored ads, right? And so that's a beta they're doing right now. And so I think just you add that all up over the last 4 or 5 months, I think that's why you're seeing such an increase in attention around AMC.
So is this there was another thing that we got brought up in an earlier conversation was who then is owning the DSP, because there's the side where I can think my Amazon agency could own it and run it and apply it, or do you see this more brand sides, they want to collect and own their own data and then give that access to their agency to leverage if they have it? Like which
That's right. That's right. I think that, that's always the age-old question around like ownership, especially when it comes to agencies, right? Ownership of seats. I would have my own data. How does that work when I go flip from agency to agency? And so I know with AMC, it makes it a little bit less about seats and ownership. It's much easier. Let's just put it that way. to get your own AMC seat created, set up. That's yours. It's yours to own. Or even if you're really kind of having your an agency or provider set it up, to really be able to take that on and transition from an agency to agency, it's a lot easier than it has been done in the past. And I think that's intentional. I think that's intentional also by Amazon because they do really want everyone to leverage AMC. That is like the big push this year. It's our big push. We support it because it makes sense. We see the value for our brands and sellers and agencies there. And so it's really take advantage of that. Get your own seat, get your own data to yourself. It's yours. It's ultimately yours. And the entry point of getting it set up and do I do it through an agency? Do I do it through Amazon? It's become a lot easier, Aaron, to do that, where there's not as many hurdles or as many concerns about that. It's pretty quick to turn around and have your own seat and be able to pull that data.
Yeah, it seemed like that was something that was being promoted I shouldn't say recommended, was own your own data, especially as we get into own your own seat, own your own data. And that's on every platform. It's on Amazon, it's on Google, it's everywhere, right? Is try to own as much of your own data as possible. So another question that comes in here. So really quick, I want to get to a couple more. Another question, some coming in through chat. One of it is that what is the process for setting it up? Like, how long does this take? Can it be done relatively quickly is number one. Because then we're literally, we're at the doorstep of Q4. And people are going to want to start collecting this data. The next question is how is this then driving your PBC versus DSP, like basically balance that? I'm just twisting the question a little bit. I think if I adapt the question is, are you using this to guide and drive a different PBC to DSP balance? So because people are setting budgets.
Yeah, no, that's a
So
great.
those are the
great
two, and then we've got one with the cookie coming. We got a bunch.
Let's keep going. Yeah, no, we'll keep going on this. Love the questions. I mean, what we're seeing right now with the brands that we're working with, turning around and getting an AMC seat created, typically between that 48 and 72-hour window. It's pretty straightforward. We work directly with our tool and with an Amazon to get that set up. So the turnaround time to get an AMC instant setup is pretty quick. When it comes to the division of looking at sponsored ads versus DSP, I mean, Aaron, I hate to give the typical answer that we've heard for a while, but I think it still applies here. It really just depends on the category, what you're trying to do, what your goals are, what your budget is. But I will say that we're seeing more and more brands understand the need to spend more on DSP, shift some of those dollars on DSP from sponsored ads. It's that earlier conversation that we had, right, where it's so competitive in the knife fight at the sponsored ads level. So let's do very specific targeting and really focus on a demographic of users when it comes to consumers on the DSP side. So for sure, this year, without a doubt, we're seeing more of the shift of the sponsored ads into, I wouldn't necessarily say 50-50, but it is moving towards a little bit more balance. And then I think that's where AMC can really help kind of look at that, just like what can we see? We have a couple models in our platform where you can actually look at the consumer behavior and journey, ultimately to path to purchase, where you can look at what were the campaigns they clicked on. Was it a sponsored product campaign? Was it a sponsored brand? Was it DSP? What was that complete journey for their path to conversion? And you can look at the data right there, like, okay, percentage of those consumers that's clicked through and their path started with DSP versus sponsored ads. And so I think that's, again, part of what's exciting about AMC is it gives you that kind of insights to then for you to adjust your budgets accordingly. So connect your AMC instance, pull that data in order to decide how much you want to spend on sponsored ads and DSP is what I would advise, especially as we're getting to the season here of Q4.
Yeah. Awesome. So a question around the lack of the cookie crumbling. For those of you who have been following it, Google was going to deprecate third-party cookies, and then they weren't, and then they were, and then they weren't, and then they were, and then they weren't, and then now they are, and then now they're not. And it looks like that might be a final decision, but we don't know. It says, will the lack of cookie crumbling help or hurt retail media? Brands might overemphasize their first-party data for DTC purposes only to deprioritize retail media. but they should be looking also at using first-party data for clean rooms like AMC to enhance retail media card. Curious what you both are hearing from brands.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I would love to, like, I know you're with a lot of brands. If that's, I know that's a hot topic, right? And specifically with the Amazon space, I think it's, I have a point of view, and I'll kind of talk about that, and then definitely from a point of view of AMC and how you could pull that data in. But like, is that something, like, I'd love to kind of hear, like, from your perspective as you're talking to brands and sellers, what's the reaction out there? What's the concern with that?
um, Well, I think nobody wants the cookie to go away because all the stats said that I think only 17% of brands had done anything about it. I think that's a major reason
Oh,
Google
yeah.
finally said gave up because they know if the cookie completely disappears and there's no attribution, there's no tracking, a lot of things fall apart. And Amazon, especially with the Marketing Cloud, and I'll get to that. What I'm hearing from brands in a second is Amazon's gobbling up so much budget, and it's going behind. I would say it's going beyond just retail media, although we call it that for Amazon. With the Marketing Cloud in this pendulum I talked about coming back to the middle, where it's a balance of direct consumer and Amazon. If we think about where the customer is at now, hefty portion being bought on Amazon, but where the customer journey is, there's a big portion on direct consumer, and with the ability to pixel your site and get your purest form of customer
Mhm.
and plug that into the Marketing Cloud and have it pick out a data set of the exact replicant, but you can dedupe, you can take all the duplicates out. Like, now I can drive that person via DSP. And I think this is where part of it is say, hey, I won't use DSP without AMC.
Yeah.
You can drive traffic to your direct consumer site. So that's what Google does.
Yeah.
So I see this, Amazon getting smarter and smarter around, is a pain in the butt as they are on the vendor side,
Mhm.
right? In the marketplace side, uh, on the advertising side, they're really listening. And
Yeah.
this Marketing Cloud was a huge advancement. I mean, people like you as well that are deciphering all the data, huge advancement in what you can do with the direct consumer data.
Yeah.
So super interesting. So
Yeah, no, it is. And it is funny how it's gone so much back and forth because it's been a hot topic. I would say that as it relates specifically to Amazon brand, so and what it comes down to is independent of that, you can just pull your first party data into the clean room, right? Like that's something that I think what I see right now, Aaron, there's a lot of people when it comes to AMC getting their feet wet, right? Like, okay, Kashif, if you're saying you could use it, show it to me. What do you mean? So we'll do a demo. We'll show them the different models, different type of path to conversions and lifetime customer value, and really kind of look at the data insights you get. Then that turns into, okay, this is great. I want to be able to go very deep into the ASIN level in terms of targeting. Perfect. Could do that and look at that. And then it's really kind of that next step of like graduating the kind of the audience there. It's like, hey, pull in your first party data now into the clean room. And really that's very powerful. Be able to see what are the insights from your D2C and really kind of pull all of that in there. And Aaron, what I'm seeing is there's still a little bit of a hesitation there, right? People are a little bit nervous about putting it all in one place because it's new and, oh, does Amazon get my data, and all of those things that are very typical when you see something new being introduced. But I think that part is going to get even more and more popular going to 2025, where folks are truly pulling their first party data into the Amazon clean room to really look at the data even more at a wider spectrum when you look at consumer behavior and what we're saying. But for now, though, I think it's really much specific to like, okay, what are these new models of data that I can get that will give me insights to be able to adjust my advertising strategies. But ultimately, it'll be really cool, Aaron, to see when people are like, that's the norm, is like pulling that first party data into that clean room to really kind of be able to make decisions there.
yeah, I often like, let's not kid ourselves. Amazon already has your customers' data. They're shopping in both places, right? That's the reality. Um, So I want to jump just a reminder for those who've joined, because we're kind of halfway through here. If you have questions, drop in the chat, drop into the Q&A, and we'll answer them as we go. And I do want to jump into, we've done a lot around AMC, and everybody should have their instance in some way, shape, or form, get it. And then whether or not you want to have, pay to have the tool that helps you interpret it, that's a different story. But
Yeah,
I would encourage, go out and get your AMC instance set up. So once they have it, the one thing is you can pull all this data, right? And then you have it. Now on the advertising side, the AI, the machine learning, what are you seeing on that side that is new and that people have to be thinking about, whether it's rebalancing, budgets or different demographics, spots in the country? Like, what are you seeing on the AI machine learning side for ad tech,
yeah,
which is going to be layered on top of the marketing cloud data? These are, in my mind, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, they're two separate things,
sure,
but
yeah.
they can be used in conjunction to, I'll say, superpower your tech and your performance on
Yeah, no,
big media.
it's the right way of kind of segmenting that. Though I will say that when you think about AI right now, let's just take a step back. And it comes to ad tech and Amazon advertising. Let's just talk about Amazon for a second. A
But
lot
can
of
I
the
jump in
AI,
really quick? I just want to frame this. So when I'm thinking about AI right now, I'm putting this is just for everybody to see, generative AI in
Mhm.
a different bucket right now.
Good point.
I
Yeah,
want to think about that. I want to think about
yeah,
the AI, the prediction machine that's crunching data and giving the
that's right.
best possible answer.
Yeah,
Um, I just want to level set that because a lot of times people think, oh, well, we're talking about generating pictures of, kittens playing, with, I don't know, whatever.
yeah.
And
The toy
and
product that they're trying
yeah,
to sell on
yeah.
Amazon, exactly. And I think, by the way, on that topic, generative AI, that's a webinar on its own, and really exciting, right? Because it gets away from not it just being around Amazon retail media, but to your point, Aaron, when you think about AI right now, and really specifically with Amazon advertising, it's been very advanced. It's become very applicable, and where brands and sellers and can really maximize the AI is on sponsored ads, right? That's been the history of it, like really looking at it from sponsored ads point of view, and that's where it's all about. Okay, it is competitive out there, so what can I do? Because I can't sit there 24 hours a day, make bid optimization. I can set up rules and rules-based automation to set up scenarios like, okay, if this behavior happens, adjust my bids. But ultimately, it's where technology is really advanced in AI, in retail media, in ad tech providers is around sponsored ads. And so we're talking about really being able to move the needle on your on two fronts, on efficiency and performance. So when we're working with our brands and we're working with our sellers, we're seeing huge lifts when our sellers start using the AI actually to optimize campaigns, and you set your targets in there in terms of what your expected daily budget is, what you want your return on ad spend to be, if that's what's important for you, or if ACoS is important to you, more of a margin play, and then let the AI do its magic. It's very powerful to see the performance difference there. But I do have a caveat on that, right? You just can't go in and just set your entire ASIN catalog leveraging AI. If you have ASINs that are not retail ready, meaning you don't have stock for them, you don't have good product detail pages, meaning you can do that. You can turn it on, but like your best practices on Amazon is you really want to take advantage and maximize return when it comes to your ad dollars on those ASINs that are retail ready, those ASINs that are really going to be there, that have good reviews, and are really at a point where now you're trying to get the most out of those. If you're just, I got a $50,000 catalog of ASINs, that's not the right strategy that you turn on AI for everything. So I just wanted to kind of call that out, but huge significant upgrades there. I think ultimately, what does AI do? It allows you to really look at predictive analytics, right? You can look at the analytics, you can look at past historical data for the performance on those campaigns. You can look at what the campaigns were last year. AI could then make those adjustments. They're looking at your specific category. I mean, that's where the beauty of AI is, and I think that's what we're seeing. Where that's the powerful play. Now, AI next for me, Aaron, and what our platforms has now in DSP self-service is AI with DSP, then AI with AMC, right? That's where AI is going to become a norm on those other advertising strategies, or when we talk about full funnel. And so that's where we're moving towards now. So that's what we've seen in general. AI, maximize it with your sponsored ads. Be open to it with DSP now, which is really cool. And you're going to continue to see AI integration when it comes to AMC, pulling that data quicker, faster, these huge segments that targeted audiences and that you could create, leverage. AI will allow that to be even that much faster to be able to pull that data. So that's kind of where we are in the quote unquote AI world when it comes to retail media.
Yeah, can we pull just one thread there that you brought up? Rules-based versus AI machine learning, right? Those are two separate things. And I would say I was just thinking about this in the back of my head as you said that, was that they're two different things. And we're at a point in time now where AI machine learning are the new normal. And we're seeing the rules based, right? The, hey, if this happens, that do this, if that happens, do this, as opposed to actively learning nonstop and then making new predictions on what it's going to be, as opposed to you know, basically predisposing an outcome based on an action that was taken.
Right.
Can you just elaborate? Am I missing the mark on that, or?
No, I mean rules-based automation and AI can kind of work hand in hand. So what I would say is like there's value in both. It's not one or the other, but I think you defined it well. I think rules-based is really kind of setting parameters or predefined rules that you're creating, right? As in the Amazon for your Amazon campaigns. And think of it as like if-then statements. Like if this condition or happen, I want you to do that. And that could be effective. That could be effective with certain level of ASINs, depending on your budget, depending on really what you're trying to go after. But where I think that's different than AI, or where it could work in conjunction with AI is literally going to be looking at patterns and behaviors of consumers in your category and looking at your ASINs and automatically take those learnings, that machine learning, and be able to make bid optimizations the AI will. Without your input, without your if-then statements, it's going to make these decisions by looking at the data, looking at that behavior. And sometimes we go into our log files and we'll look at some of our campaigns for some of our clients. And it's like, you see hundreds, if not thousands of changes that were done in a span of a week. And that's just the AI that's constantly learning. It's learning about, it's pulling the data. It's looking at consumer behavior. It's really looking at the bids and where the bids are going and what are those peak seasons and peak times and times of the week, days of the week. So that's the difference there, Aaron, where it's constantly just doing that. And I think that's very powerful. Now, a lot of people are skeptical. I've heard this time and time again from consumers or clients or prospects. Hey, I don't know about this AI. I don't know how it works, because it's not like it's an open, like everyone can see the code and understand exactly how AI works. So that's where I think it's kind of cool that you can do a combo of rules-based and AI, or you could slowly start seeing the performance of AI and then deciding to leverage AI more and then kind of get away from rules-based, because I think it's still, people are a little bit doubtful. So they just need to see the performance. I could tell you that's exactly what I did when I was in an agency. AI sounded great. One of the first questions I asked is this AI thing real or not? But then I tested it, right? Our brands, we tested it. We saw the performance difference in a span of like a month to 3 months. And then we're like, okay, we got more comfortable putting more of our budget and really running it through more an AI methodology versus rules-based. So that's kind of really what it is. But the great thing is you could pick and choose, right? It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
And is this, you said that this is rolling out on DSP as well?
Yeah, like within our platform, we are having, something we're launching this month really is DSP self-service, DSP in our AI, where you can create those campaigns. You can do that performance optimization, like I was just explaining with sponsored ads, through very similarly with DSP. As everyone knows, that has done DSP or set up DSP, it's a heavy lift. There's a lot of heavy lift to get it going and really setting up those campaigns. And so we're excited to kind of talk about that more. You'll hear more about that with XMARS and XMARS platform in the coming weeks. We're going to really talk a lot about that in Amazon Accelerate as well. We'll have a booth there and everything. But yeah, we're excited to kind of explain that, show it, how that works, because that's fairly new, that's just rolling out.
Yeah. So are there like key thoughts, and just a reminder, people drop great questions coming in the chat, the Q&A, keep dropping in there. We'll keep asking them. When we think about Q4 as a whole, I know the title was Cyber 5 because a lot of people were concerned about that, but as we're going here, and even Todd's point, like whatever the flavor of the month is, right?
Yep.
Of you know, new thing that's popping up, that Prime Day or Labor Day or back to school. Like when we're thinking about tactics, things so number one, you have to get on the marketing cloud. I don't see how you're not. It's
Yeah.
just the reality. Number two, plugging that in if you're running your own into whatever tech that you're running, helping it guide and your decisions around budgeting and targeting and everything else.
Yeah.
If not, asking questions with your agency 100% around it as a whole. Reading it for that balance between PPC and DSP, especially what it looks like. And if there's one thing, as I'm thinking about this real time, year over year data is critical. One thing, get the instance set up, yours own, I don't know, contact Amazon or whatever. Get your own instance so you get all your Q4 data. So then you
Yeah.
know better next year what to do, how your
Exactly.
customers are interacting, and what the budgeting might look like.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like riffing through some like key takeaways that I have, just thinking back when I was on the brand side, what I'd want to
Yeah.
make sure that I'm pulling out.
Yeah.
Tactics, thoughts, anything as we, what is going to be that helps move the needle for brands and as we get to Q4 here.
I really want brands to, it doesn't matter where you are, brands and sellers, like it's when we see sellers of brands win, it's good for all of us, right? And so here's my advice, right? Um, it's not too late for this year. If you're using an agency, push your agency, have those conversations right now. You probably are, right? The right agency is already having these conversations right now, but come up with a playbook for your full funnel advertising strategy right now. Go into the weeds, ask them questions if they're running it for you, where you're going to split between sponsored ad, DSP. These agencies definitely should have AMC insights. If they're not, then you need to reevaluate those agencies, to be quite frank, because that's one of the reasons why you pay a significant fee for an agency, is to be able to give you these insights. If you're a brand doing this in-house, your tech provider or the tech tool you use should absolutely have these insights for you. You should absolutely be able to ask those questions. And really what I'm trying to get at, Aaron, is just to help people out there is like, it's not too late for this year, and you should push your partners, whether that's an agency, whether it's an ad tech provider, push them for answers. Or you have a relationship with Amazon and you have a vendor manager, push them, because it's these seasons and these peak seasons and is so critical for the business, right? And we're talking about like Aaron, I'm preaching to the choir here, but imagine the pressure on the brand side, right, that you have when you were there, in terms of performance, in terms of you got to answer to a boss, right? And so if you have questions, if you don't have the right setup, how do I set up AMC? Come to us, come directly to us. Let us help you. Let us at least steer you to the right direction. But basically, everyone should be coming up with those strategies right now. And it's so specific to your brand. It's so specific to your category. Should I increase budget? Do I decrease budget? Do I take advantage of organic traffic? How do I do that? Right? Like all of those things are what you should be thinking through right now, because it's so dependent on where you sell. What's your world right now? What's your world of your ASINs and your category you're in? But take the steps now. If you're not, it's not too late. So that would be the biggest advice and what I'd push right now to everyone.
Yeah. So a question comes in around size. I'm a smaller business. Is there a relative size that makes sense before or not I need AMC?
I mean, again, I will say this. I think there's betas right now going on, and we are one of those vendors that you can join the beta in with having AMC insights without having DSP spend or running DSP. So you can jump in, reach out to us if you're interested, or talk to your agency if you're using an agency. So it's not too late. You absolutely can, and it is in beta. But yes, the answer to that is yes. You can. You can join that.
All right. Awesome. Next question that comes in. What's the number one thing brands are most shocked by when first plugging into AMC?
I think I see this time and time again. It's just cool to see their eyes light up in terms of the amount of data and how detailed you could go in terms of targeting, right? I had mentioned earlier that, it's that brand that was on Prime Day. They were very interesting, right? They went like 30 deep in terms of their target audience. I want to look at someone that added to cart and visited a product detail page 6 times. And, just that. That was, I think, the biggest thing is like, just seeing how much data you can get right there and people's eyes light up in terms of really thinking about that, how do I do some targeting and create those audiences and test that. So I think that's been kind of cool to see. People have been very creative, agencies, brands, in terms of how they want to target audiences and try those tests and learns. I think that's been cool, Aaron. And then I think just in general, we do have some top models within our platform that even for someone that doesn't maybe is as sophisticated or doesn't know where to start, that they can look at those models, right? So those models will help them look at path to conversion, really allows advertisers to see the entire view of their customers' advertising purchase journey, like I mentioned earlier. So that's commonly used to see performance of both upper funnel tactics and easily view like new to brand data for sponsored products and all ad types, right? And retail metrics. Then you have multi-touch attribution, right? It gives users several different attribution models to choose from, and then recommends like an optimal budget weighting between each ad type for the highest sales and optimal ROAS, right? There's customer lifetime value, right? Allows users to look at customer lifetime value, sales, ROAS, all of these things there. So I think what's cool is like just even the basic data, which is a lot of powerful, you can get that right in our AMC Connections Hub. And so that's the other part that I've seen is like, oh shit, this is already here. This is pretty quick. I could get this data that quickly. That's the other thing that I think people are pretty surprised when they first connect to AMC.
Yeah. Awesome. So I do not have, I think we might just move to key takeaways, unless others, if you have last minute questions, drop them in the chat or Q&A and we'll jump over to them. As we get to key takeaways, more than happy to connect everybody here with Kashif and the team at XMars. I think it's 100% worth having that conversation. This data it's unbelievable. It's just having been on the brand side, it's all the stuff you ever wanted that your AMG team told you back in the day you were going to get.
Yeah.
And just believe him, right? On the halo effect. But more than happy to connect you over. Look for a follow-up email from me as well. I'd love to have a conversation with everybody on the line. This is how we get the ideas for the topics, is those conversations, but more than happy to network, knowledge share, and connect you with other either brands or top service providers across the digital landscape. That's direct consumer, international, whatever it might be. But Kashif, key takeaways as we kind of wrap up here.
Yeah, thanks again, everyone, for attending. Thanks again, Aaron, for the conversation. I love how passionate you are in terms of just bringing people to talk about what's relevant. And a key takeaway is act now. It's not too late. Q4 is right around the corner. And if you don't know where to go, don't know how to navigate, just reach out to us. We're happy to have the conversations, steer you in the right direction, even if you're using an agency or anything like that. But really take advantage of the data and the insights that are there right now. They're very powerful. It sounds scary when something's new, but it's become so much more simplified than it has ever before. And I can't state that enough, right? We constantly are setting up AMC instances. I think we're well over 100 AMC instances that we just created just recently. And so act now, and test and learn. And even if you are in a position where you have a lot of expectations and you have a short leash, for lack of better words, you can still be very creative with a strategy that really kind of looks at those insights and makes smart decisions. And so this is not one of those things with AMC that you're going to be set up for failure, where you're going to be set up for like, oh man, I really went all in with this new thing and it didn't work. It's really just giving you more insights for you to target specific audiences that could be very new to you and new to your sales. And so that's what we want you to do. We want you to capture that business.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, everybody, for the great questions, the comments that came in. Kashif, as always, thanks for your time today and being such a great friend, partner, supporter of the network. With that, everybody, we're going to wrap up. Everybody take care, stay safe, and look forward to having you at a future event. Thanks again, my friend. All righty, we'll see you.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, everyone.